Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour et bienvenue dans ce nouvel épisode de Virtuous Ask War, toujours en compagnie de Naevyah.
Je m'en vais pas.
Et par rapport à l'épisode précédent, on est toujours sur la même case du flowchart. Attends, il se passe tellement de choses sur cette case, c'est assez ouf. Et on a K qui va peut-être commencer à nous faire des confessions intimes. Alors,
Confessions intimes.
voyons ça.
Espérons qu'on s'est pas trompé.
Il se rappelle de quelque chose.
Qu'est-ce qu'il va nous dire?
Really? What did you remember? Oh.
Daddy?
When dad, you remember that?
When
Dad, you remember
Je pense que c'est when did you remember
Oui.
that?
Did you just pop up out of nowhere?
Ah non, c'était vraiment une blague, je crois.
Je pense que c'est une blague de Sigma. Sorry. So, you remembered who your father was. What about your mom?
C'est un robot.
So your dad raised you. Kay stopped for a moment, then calmly folded his hands in front of him. C'est trop chou. Le Minika qui a un 0 junior en poupée.
Ah, c'est juste un lapin.
その施設で働いているのは父一人だけだったので、私は成長するまで父以外の人間を見たことがありませんでした。
On est dans Beyond Two Souls ou quoi?
しかし、何しろ生まれた時からその状況ですから、それを不審に思うことさえありませんでした。
Khan a vu que son père dans l'usine ou la fabrique de son père en tout cas. He wouldn't allow me to go near him while he was working, but the only times he wasn't working were the times when he was sleeping. As such, the only communication I had was with the education software he'd given me. I suppose I was a fairly expressionless child then. We developed body language to communicate with others, and with no one else to communicate with, I suppose it makes sense. Once I learned to read and write, I began to realize that my situation was not normal. Many of my books mentioned the mother as part of a family, and in several the mother, father and children would eat meals together and talk to one another. Soon I found myself longing for a mother of my own. Someone who would always be with me, who would scold me if I did something wrong. At night, they would read to me before bedtime. If only I had a mother like that, I thought, I would be so happy. Donc K qui ne voit que son père, mais il le voit pas vraiment, parce que son père, quand il bosse, il veut pas que K le voit, et quand il bosse pas, il dort. Et K a juste un logiciel d'apprentissage qui lui a permis d'apprendre à lire, à écrire, et c'est à ce moment-là, quand il a commencé à lire des livres, qu'il s'est rendu compte que sa situation n'était pas normale, qu'il commençait à rêver d'avoir aussi un autre parent qui pourrait le reprendre quand il fait des erreurs, qui pourrait s'amuser avec lui, prendre des repas ensemble, discuter ensemble, avoir vraiment un rapport familial. Et il aimerait bien sûr avoir ce type de rapport pour pouvoir s'épanouir et devenir heureux. So for the first time in my life, I asked my father for something. He had finished working and as usual, was making his way toward his bedroom when I stopped him and asked for a mother. He looked at me silently for a long moment before finally responding, "Okay." I remember to this day how happy I was at that moment. A few months later, he called me into his laboratory. It was the first time he'd ever done anything like that. My heart was beating quickly as I stepped inside. Standing next to him was a young woman, and my hopes soared. But when he said her name, or rather her ID number, they were dashed. He had given me a robot to play the part of a mother. I didn't want a mother that was just a machine who did what a human told her to. When I told my father that, he looked surprised for the first time in my life.
Son lapin, il a eu des problèmes entre
Oui,
la première
oui,
photo ou quoi?
c'est ça. Complètement. Et les habits sont plus exactement les mêmes aussi, je crois.
Il a grandi un peu, quoi.
C'est ça. Then he frowned, coughed, and admonished me for being a whiner. He never scolded me for anything before. At first I was surprised, then angry, her tears streamed down my face. My father ordered the robot to take care of me and shooed us out of his lab. The robot was very convincing and she smiled and spoke as if she was a real person, but I refused to answer her and locked myself in my room. You can talk to a robot and it will respond, but in the end, you're still talking to a machine, not a person. Donc il a demandé une mère à son père, il lui a dit ok, quelques jours plus tard il a demandé à K de venir à son labo et il lui a présenté un robot qui est censé jouer le rôle de sa mère et K n'était pas content et son père l'a renvoyé du labo avec le robot en disant le robot va t'occuper de lui et K n'est pas content par rapport à cette situation parce qu'il voulait quelqu'un, une vraie personne, pas juste une machine. If that was what I'd wanted, I'd still had the education software my father had given me. When I ignored the robot as it tried to take care of me, it looked sad. It couldn't really be sad, of course, it was only programmed to look that way. A robot's facade of sadness didn't mean anything to me. After that, I stopped expecting anything from my father. We'd never really spoken to begin with, so it was easy enough for me to make sure we never saw one another. I lived my life as if he didn't even exist. Perhaps it seems strange to you that I continued to live with him, but I never considered leaving. Perhaps in the hidden depths of my heart I longed for a relationship with my father. Everything changed when I was 18. I left my room one morning to find a woman standing outside of it. She was the first human I'd ever seen apart from my father, and I was understandably surprised. For a moment I thought my father had created a new robot, but when I told her that, she laughed and explained that she had come to help him. As it turned out, she was a very mysterious person. She was much older than I was, but something about the way she behaved was almost girlish. She would tell me stories about the world outside in such a way that I was never sure if she was telling the truth or making up fantastic lies. Ultimately, though, the truth didn't matter. I loved her stories. She wasn't helping my father directly with his research, so I spent most of my days with her. Before long, I discovered she'd known my father when he was young. She told me stories of how he'd fallen in love as a young man, and I began to imagine that the person I'd fallen in love with had been her, and that she was, in fact, secretly my mother. After she settled it with us, our long-established routine began to change drastically. Donc une nouvelle personne arrive dans le centre de recherche, une femme qui connaît le père de K depuis apparemment longtemps, qui a des histoires à propos du monde extérieur, et K se prend d'une très forte amitié avec cette personne et la considère comme sa mère, tout simplement, et passe le plus gros de ses journées avec.
Ouais.
Toi aussi, tu penses que c'était Miyuji et June en version cadavre
Ça m'a passé à l'esprit. Mais je me dis non, elle est quand même un peu bizarre.
First, we started to eat together. Before then, I had never shared a meal with anyone in 18 years. She scolded me for my table manners, or more accurately, the lack thereof. If I was going to eat with others, she said, I would need to be more polite. Having eaten alone for my entire life, manners had never been something I'd even thought about. My father got in trouble too, when he made the mistake of reading through research papers during dinner. The look of surprise and embarrassment on his face made me burst into laughter. I couldn't remember the last time I'd shared a laugh with my father. It might have been the first time. The room we considered our living room changed too. Before it had just been another room, but she made it comfortable. After we finished our dinner, I would sit on the sofa and relax with her and my father. Those times were the ones I cherished the most. For a little while, every day I got the family I longed for ever since I was a child. At her suggestion, I started to help with my father's research. He specialized in genetic engineering, and I discovered I had an interest in it as well. Time faded away and I lost myself in research. Now that we were working and studying together, my father and I had a great deal to talk about. For the first time in my life, we began to speak with one another like a father and son. Whenever I impressed him with something I'd learned, I felt a surge of happiness and it drove me to study even harder. My days felt full, bright and meaningful, but most importantly, I was happy. Donc K qui commence à travailler avec son père sur ses recherches, toujours grâce à cette nouvelle personne qui est arrivée dans leur famille, cette femme qui connaît son père et qui permet de rediriger un petit peu leur quotidien vers quelque chose de plus confortable d'une part, mais aussi de plus sain en termes de relationnel et de sens de la famille. Oh, c'est complètement elle.
C'est la vieille, ouais.
C'est complètement la vieille.
Mais
et
ça,
c'est complètement zéro.
c'est complètement zéro, ouais.
C'est complètement l'hologramme de zéro.
Mais c'est June.
4 years passed in the blink of an eye, until one day I happened to overhear my father and the woman speaking in the laboratory.
Est-ce que ça peut être Santa?
Peut-être. Their tone was serious, so I listened closer, curious to know what they were talking about. That was when I heard her say that she planned to give her life to achieve their goals. It was clear that she wasn't being metaphorical. She would have to die. I was in shock. The research I had thrown myself into would lead to her death? I asked my father to stop his research immediately. He refused to listen. She agreed with him. She told me that she had been prepared for what she had to do since the day she came to our facility. My father had known about it from the beginning as well. Angry and disappointed, I began to investigate what exactly the research I'd been helping with was working toward. Perhaps I thought I could figure out a way to keep her alive. I discovered much more than I'd bargained for. To begin with, I learned that the ultimate success of my father's research would require a good deal of sacrifice. Dont Naevyah. And I also learned that my own existence was just another part of his project. I had been created to function as my father's spare. If he died during his research, I was intended to continue it in his place. I was stunned. Donc K qui commence à faire des recherches sur les travaux de son père, plus en profondeur, sur l'objectif des travaux de son père, parce qu'il apprend lors d'une conversation entre cette mystérieuse femme et son père que la femme va devoir mourir en tant que sacrifice pour les recherches. Les deux sont au courant, les deux sont ok avec, mais K lui ne l'est pas, d'où le fait qu'il commence à faire des recherches pour essayer peut-être de trouver une idée qui permettrait de sortir de ce schéma où il y aurait besoin de faire des sacrifices dont cette femme.
Qui est June.
Et qui est potentiellement June. Et il découvre notamment que lui a été conçu en tant que remplaçant, si jamais son père venait à mourir lors des recherches, qu'il reprenne le flambeau. I was furious with my father and with her, and even with the research I'd poured myself into for 4 years. There was only one thing to do, destroy the facility and end my father's horrible research once and for all. I made plans to destroy the main reactor, and with it the entire facility, but she saw right through me. My father was livid and locked me in my room until his research was complete. All I could think of was how I might stop him. She did her best to convince me that I'd misunderstood, that everything would be fine. As much as I wanted to believe her, I remembered in the back of my mind that she had been the one who pushed me to become involved in my father's research. Had that been an earnest desire to give me something to do with my life, or still, I couldn't bring myself to hate her. She had given me a reason to live. Even if she had conspired with my father to mold me into his replacement, the warmth she'd shown me had been real. She'd made me feel as if I had a real family, and that was something I wouldn't have given up for the world. I pleaded with her to leave, but she quietly shook her head. There was someone very special to her, she told me. He had saved her life once, and she felt her death would help to repay that favor. She would have liked nothing more than to marry him and live a happy normal life together, but she couldn't. For his sake, she said, and for the sake of the future she had wanted, she was determined to see my father's research succeed. I realized then that although she was the most important person in my life, there was someone more important than me in hers. She tried to explain that beyond what we could see was a future where no one would have to die, but I refused to listen. What good was a potential future to me? It was what I had now that I wanted. I couldn't stand to think that she would give her life for a man I'd never even seen. Donc, K qui veut détruire les recherches de son père, qui se retrouve enfermé dans sa chambre jusqu'à ce que les recherches soient complétées par son père et par cette femme. Cette femme qui essaie de lui expliquer que tout va bien se passer, il ne veut pas l'écouter. Elle lui explique que elle doit faire ce sacrifice parce que ça lui permettrait de repayer sa dette envers une personne qui l'a aidé fut un temps et qui lui a sauvé la vie. Une personne qu'elle aurait aimé marier et avec qui elle aurait eu envie d'avoir une vie normale et épanouie. Et donc K qui lui apprend qu'il n'est pas la personne la plus importante aux yeux de cette femme enfin qui elle est la personne la plus importante dans sa vie, hein, globalement, qui a à peu près changé toute son existence et qui lui a donné un objectif à poursuivre. Et du coup c'est compliqué pour lui. Et pour nous on est en mode Choupa, Juno, tout ça. So I shut myself off from the world. Perhaps that is why I lost my memory.
Mais j'ai l'impression que c'est ça la facilité où il était.
Ouais, je pense que c'est possible. Hein. Je pense que le workbench qui regardait vachement comme ça, c'est là où il a été construit, ça. Où il a fait des recherches à un moment donné.
Pardon.
Kate let out a deep, tired sigh.
すみません。すっかりと長話をしてしまいました。
Ah bah rien, ça fait 50 minutes mon coco que tu parles là.
Ah, j'avoue. Non, en vrai, ça fait 20. Tout va bien. It's okay.
記憶というのはないと不便ですが、戻れば戻ったで面倒なものですね。
So you remember almost everything?
いえ、細かいところはまだ不明のままです。特にここ最近のことは何も。
Ah.
申し訳ありませんが、シグマさん、少し横になってもいいですか？
Ok.
Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
Je sais pas, j'ai peur.
What's wrong?
具合が悪いのです。あまりにもいっぺんに昔のことを思い出したせいでしょうか。頭が割れるように痛んで。
Are you okay? Medical 6?
しばらく休めばすぐに良くなると思います。
Okay. Take as long as you need. I'll go look for Clover, tell Miyuji myself.
すみません。よろしくお願いします。
Oh, j'ai peur, je veux pas qu'il ait le Radical 6. Mais déjà, c'est un humain dans un truc ou c'est un robot? Je suis même pas sûre.
Et on n'oublie pas que les recherches c'était sur la génétique ou un truc comme ça. Hein.
Ouais, sur le génie génétique, je sais pas quoi.
Les androïdes, tout ça là. Kay lowered himself heavily onto the red sofa in the corner of the room.
On dirait un sarcophage.
J'avoue. Well, I guess I'd better get moving then.
je me sentais en sécurité avec lui.
Ouais. Et oui, et pourtant.
Comment on va faire pour récupérer Dio, là, sans lui?
Je sais pas. Non, mais de toute façon, pour les épreuves, il va falloir quand même le récupérer K aussi. Celui-ci se repose pendant que nous on fait les recherches. Après, on va le
Ok,
chercher.
ok.
I stepped out of the room and nearly ran into Faye. What are you doing? You're supposed to be waiting back in the
分かっ
warehouse.
てる。ちょっと様子を見に来ただけだよ。待てど暮らせど誰もやってくる気配がなかったか
En
ら。
même temps, ça doit pas être drôle pour son côté aussi, quoi.
C'est vrai.
その感じだとまだ見つかってないみたいだな。四つ葉と天明寺。
Yeah,
K は
he's in the lounge.
別れることにしたのか。
Well, not quite. Instead of waiting for my answer, she opened the door to the lounge and walked in. Qu'est-ce que tu fais?
おい、どうしたんだ K。
I guess he's not feeling too well. He said he wanted to rest for a
大
bit.
丈夫なのか。
I think so. We should leave him alone right now, though. Remember, there's a real person inside that suit. I'm sure he's just tired.
疲れ。シグマン、お前の方はどうなんだ。
What?
顔に疲労感がにじみ出てるぞ。3日3晩履き続けた靴下みたいな。
Sympa.
Really? Well, I guess I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little exhausted. I mean, all of a sudden, I wake up trapped in some weird-ass game and then dead bodies start turning up. Honestly, I'm amazed I've managed to hold on to my sanity for this long. Just about everything here makes absolutely zero sense. The more I try to figure any of it out, the more I feel like my brain's just going to melt and run out of my ears. You know what I'm talking about, right? We managed to figure out who the killer was, but there's still 100 other questions we have no idea about. What the hell are we? Why are we even here? What's this whole nonary game thing of? And what is Zero Senior up to? Well, how about who Zero Senior is?
Le papa de K.
The rabbit said he was one of us, but... Do you think it's Dio?
さあ、
Il lui ressemble un peu le Zéro Senior.
Moi je dis c'était Myuji, hein. Moi je reste sur mon truc, je l'ai dit dès le début du jeu.
Moi
J'ai fait,
j'ai des petits doutes.
il est vieux, c'était Myuji.
Oh mais Tenmyoji il est vieux, Tenmyoji c'est Junpei.
Et alors?
Il peut pas être Junpei si Jun dit qu'elle voudrait être avec l'homme qu'elle aime, du coup elle aide l'autre mec. Et l'homme que Jun aime c'est Junpei. Moi j'ai l'impression que...
Non, moi je dis le gars du Albator là.
Zéro
Albator,
Senior.
c'est une autre version de Tenmyuji, moi je dis.
Une autre version.
Ouais. Oh, je sais pas, j'ai juste envie d'insister sur Tenmyuji, c'est zéro. Mais
Moi je
après,
dis juste qu'il ressemble à Dio en plus vieux. Mais du coup je voyais pas trop l'intérêt avec
Moi je dis c'est
Dio.
Snake.
J'y ai pensé aussi. Mais je sais pas.
Besides, we still don't know why Dio killed them. Ça va?
Mais oui, non mais tu vas pas me
Ça va?
demander à chaque fois.
Oh mon dieu, non. On est en train de perdre Naevyah. On est en train de perdre Naevyah. Non. On a perdu Naevyah. Désolé pour les oreilles. Désolé pour mon casque.
Sorry.
Dès qu'elle arrive sur du nouveau matos, elle pète tout.
Pauvre.
He said he was ordered to do it, but... And there's more too. What about the old lady? Who is she? What's her deal? Hell, what are any of our deals? I don't know jack shit about anybody here. I don't even know anything about Yuffie.
おい、よせよ。私のことを疑ってるのか。
No, that's not it.
私はお前と同じように、わけもわからぬままに、12月の
Tout le monde est des robots. ici.
25日に。
She trade off. Hello?
What the fuck?
Bonjour. You heard that, right?
ああ、通路の方からだ。
Let's go have a look. Qu'est-ce que c'est que cette histoire encore?
Ils me font ces trucs.
誰もいないな。
Maybe they got on the
ボタン
elevator?
を押してみよう。
Ça va marcher ou pas?
dans le prochain épisode.
Ah,
Vous
tu
le saurez.
fais...
On espère que cet épisode vous a plu, l'épisode sur le passé de Kay, les quelques souvenirs qui ont pu lui revenir. Maintenant, on est à nouveau en équipe avec Fi, alors que Kay, lui, se sent moyennement bien et se repose. Et c'est avec un Sigma exténué et une fille légèrement irritée que nous allons voir si ce qui a fait du bruit est caché dans l'ascenseur. D'ici là, comme à l'accoutumée, portez-vous au mieux. Bye.